Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let's continue with our study of Chapter 3 in geometry. Today I would like to introduce you to this concept of transversal and define some basic angles that are created. So if you have two lines like the ones that are white over here, let's call them L and M. These are line L and line M. So if you have two lines like that and just going about doing their thing, and then there's a third line like this, okay, that cuts through both of those two lines, this line is called a transversal, okay? So this line is called a transversal, the one that cuts through both of these two lines. Now these lines don't have to be parallel or anything like that. In this case, for example, they don't look parallel, right? So, but when a transversal cuts through these two lines, it creates angles, okay? So let me just label them: angle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? So these are the angles we are talking about. Those are the angles that we're going to define. Now, these two lines are not parallel, but for the majority of the chapter, we're going to talk about lines that are parallel, okay? Now, these two lines over here that I just drew, okay? Now, they look parallel, right? Okay. Are they parallel? Okay, I don't know, because it's not given to us. You can't assume lines to be parallel unless you're told that they are parallel. And you'd be told either like this by drawing those little same marks suggesting these two lines are parallel, or you can be said, for example, line L is parallel to M. So this symbol over here means parallel, P-A-R-A-L-L-E-L. As you know, this symbol here means perpendicular. Okay, so either you have to be told like this, or the lines have to be marked like this for you to assume that they're parallel. Unless that you are told that they're parallel, you cannot assume them to be parallel, regardless of how they look. For example, in this first example, these lines are not given to be parallel, so you can't assume them to be parallel. But if you're told like this, then regardless of how they look, they're parallel, okay? So, but hopefully somebody won't do that to you, but I'm just saying. Now, so these lines are parallel. Now, this is a transversal that goes to those two lines. And similarly, it creates these angles. Angles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So those are the 8 angles that are created by a transversal that's going through those two lines. And that will be the focus of our attention for the next few minutes, okay? Now, just to give you an example, these two lines clearly, they don't look parallel, right? They don't look parallel. It looks like they're going to go up there and intersect, correct? Yes. Well, how about now? Do they look parallel to you? I don't know, right? So you can't go by the looks, because looks can be deceiving. So in geometry, you can't assume anything either way unless you're told one way or the other, okay? So you can't assume lines to be parallel, and you can't assume lines to be not parallel unless you're told or you can prove it to be so, okay? Here, on the other hand, we're going to be merciful. We're going to tell you that these two lines are parallel, okay? So let's just call this K, and let's call this L. So we're given that K is parallel to L, okay? And let's call this one line M, okay? So line M is a transversal because it traverses or crosses both of those 2 points. Now, what I'm going to tell you now applies to the lines if they were parallel, if they were not parallel, okay? But it's just for the sake of convenience. It makes the join neater, kind of like nice for people who are obsessive, like me. So these are the 4 angles that are created by that transversal. Now, these angles are given names, and that's what we should learn here first. So all the angles that are like on the inside, angle 3, 4, 5, and 6, these are called interior angles, okay? And then all the angles that are on the outside, like 1 and 2 and 7, 8, these are called exterior angles. Very logical. So everything that's on the outside, they're called exterior angles, and the angles that are on the inside, they're called interior angles. Okay? So angle 3, 4, 5, 6 are interior angles, and angle 1, 2, and 7, 8 are exterior angles. Okay? Now, they're all important, okay? But I like to kind of like emphasize something here so that it makes it easy for you to learn what we're going to learn in the future. And they're all important, but the most important of these, at least in my mind, are angle like 2 and angle 6. Okay, angle 2 and angle 6. They're like super duper, super duper, super duper. Did I say very important? Yes, they're very, very important. Okay. So angle 2 and angle 6 are very important angles, okay? And then they're given names, okay? These angles are called corresponding angles. Corresponding angles, okay? So these are angle 2 and angle 6. They're not the only corresponding angles, okay? Angle 1 and angle 5 are also corresponding, okay? So, and angle 1 and angle 5 are also corresponding, okay? And so are angle 4 and 8, see? Kind of like that. Angle 4 and angle 8 are also corresponding. Can you tell me if there's any other that are corresponding? Yep. So that would be angle 3 and angle 7. So these are all corresponding angles. So this and this is corresponding, and 4 and 8 are corresponding, and 1 and 5 are also corresponding, okay? Now, the reason they're important is because you'll see there'll be theorems about many of these angles, and they'll have lots of theorems, but there will be one angle that will not have theorems, and one set of angles will have a postulate, and it will be these. So there's a corresponding angles postulate will be theorems about the rest of the angles. So in other words, you can't, there's something about these angles that you can't prove, okay? And the rest of the angles have theorems. The corresponding angles have postulates. So very important corresponding angles, okay? And then we have angle this over here, angle 4 and angle 5, okay? So these are called, they're interior angles, right? But they're alternate interior. Alternate interior angles. That means they're on the other side, right? They're alternating side. So alternate interior angles, and these are angle 4 and angle 5. Now they're not the only alternate interior angles, right? Yes, angle 3 and angle 6 are also alternate interior angles. They're on the other side, okay? So that's another category of angles, okay? And then there's another category here, and that is angle 1, and angle 8. Okay, now these are called, they're exterior angles first of all, and they're called alternate exterior angles. Okay, so angle 1 and angle 8 are alternate exterior, and they're not the only ones, as you can see. Angle 2 and angle 7 are also alternate exterior angles. So there's two sets of these. So there's two sets of alternate interiors, there's two sets of alternate exteriors, and there's 4 sets of corresponding angles. Okay, got it? Now there's one last set that we have to know, and these are these two over here. Okay, these are interior angles, these two over here. Okay, then 4 and 6. They're not alternate sides, right? They're on the same sides, okay? They're called consecutive, right next to each other. Consecutive interior angles, okay? Consecutive interior angles. So this is angle 4 and angle 6. Are they the only ones? No, as you know, I'm sure. Angle 3 and angle 5 are also consecutive interior angles. Consecutive interior angles. Okay, this is the terminologies. Okay, these are the terminology corresponding the very important corresponding angles, angle 2 and angle 6, alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive interior angles. Okay, I'm going to erase this, okay? And then we're going to do a mini quiz here, so to speak, to see if you remember some of these, okay? Okay, so what do you call angle 3 and angle 6? Angle 3 and angle 6. These would be alternate interior angles. Those are alternate interior angles. Can you tell me another set of alternate interior angles? Yes, that would be 4 and 5 alternate interior angles. Can you give me an example of an alternate exterior angles? Alternate exterior. If you said 1 and 8 as a pair, or if you said 2 and 7 as a pair, those would be alternate exterior angles, okay? With alternate exterior. So alternate interior, alternate exterior. How about these two? How about 3 and 5? What are these? A lot of students get these angles and these angles mixed up, okay? Now, 3 and 5 are interior angles. There are consecutive interior angles, and these are the famous corresponding angles. So these are 3 and 5 are consecutive interior, and 2 and 6 are corresponding angles. Those are the ones that have postulates. Remember that everyone else has theorems to their credit, okay? How about angle 1 and angle 4? What are they? They're vertical angles. Very good. And angle 5 and 8 are vertical angles, 6 and 7 vertical angles, and if you recall, we know vertical angles are congruent, right? Okay, very good. And how about angle 2 and angle 4? What are they? What are they? They are a linear pair. Linear pair are adjacent supplementary angles. So are 3 and 4, 6 and 8. So these are linear pair, right? Supplementary angles. Don't forget those. So these are vertical angles, and those are linear pair or supplementary adjacent angles. Okay, inshallah, we shall build on this next time. Until then, assalamu alaikum.